Hi, Tom Simmons here again, and in today's video we're going to be looking at the strategic planning process, specifically from a marketing perspective. And this is something that every company goes through on a regular basis. Perhaps every 5 years they engage in a strategic planning process. And even though, while much of what we talk about today seems like it only applies to very large corporations and very large businesses, each of the elements is really very applicable even to a single diner or a single restaurant in a single location. So we'll be speaking in terms of what sounds like large corporate enterprises, but again, all of these concepts apply even to you in a small business. Now, before we get into the very marketing specific ways to analyze where you are and where you're going and what you should do next, there are some very basic elements that normally a student would cover in an intro to business course. And I just want to mention them briefly because they're part of our toolkit that we have under our belt in the strategic planning process. The first would be a SWOT analysis. You've probably heard of this before. SWOT, S-W-O-T, stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, in a general business sense, your strengths might be loyal customers, might be a great location, could be very competent employees, it could be a good product. And of course, from a marketing perspective, we want to focus in on those specific products. What products, what markets are our strength? And when you've got a product that does so well that people identify that product with your company, that's really called your core competency. If I was to mention McDonald's or Samsung or Ford, there are certain images that come to mind immediately. And that's because those are the core competencies of those companies. In addition to strengths, there are also weaknesses. And weaknesses are those problems that we have right now. A computer system that is constantly not working the correct way. A product that we've put out that no one is buying. Anything that is a real drag on the company is your weakness. And of course, the goal is to convert weaknesses that you have to strengths somehow. Then there are opportunities and threats. And we differentiate opportunities and threats from strengths and weaknesses in that they are future events or things you can see coming down the road. Opportunities are just what they sound like, and you want to be able to seize on them and ride that wave. Be ready when that opportunity comes. Threats are potential death knells to your business if you're not ready to turn that threat into an opportunity. During the COVID crisis, the threat of government closing down restaurants, closing down public gatherings could be turned into an opportunity if you very quickly geared, let's say, your restaurant into home delivery of meals or into some other method of delivery. So that's a very basic approach to analyzing your business, the SWOT analysis. The other one, of course, is to constantly revisit and remember and implement your mission statement. And mission statements should not be long explanations and paragraphs. They should be 1 or 2 sentences that describe very clearly who are you, what is your reason for being, what are you doing. And if you've got an opportunity and it doesn't fit with your mission statement, then you need to stop and say, wait a second, are we changing who the company is? Are we just going to run after this one opportunity because it's a quick money maker and then mess up our brand image? You want to revisit your mission statement and you want to stay true to it so that you are presenting a consistent image to the public. Now, those are the basic business tools that we use to analyze business. When we're looking at strategic planning from a marketing perspective, there are deeper overlays that we can use to give us an idea as to which direction our company should go in. For instance, many years ago, the Boston Consulting Group came up with a matrix called the Growth Share Matrix. It is industry standard to use this particular tool even today. So let's go through that Growth Share Matrix using those words, all right? Basically, it's a way to map industries based on growth. Is this an industry that more and more people are buying goods in? Is it an industry that just everyone wants to get in on, sort of like cell phones a generation ago? Or is it something that's not growing at all? It's static or it's declining, such as typewriters. That would be the growth section. Then there would be the share section, right? This is growth versus share. And by market share, we're looking at what percentage of the total market sales does our company have. Maybe there's 5 or 6 companies that sell cat food. If we've got 70% of the total sales in that market, we've got a great share of the sales. So what we start to look at is all the products that we sell, all of the services that we provide, and we grid, is it a market that's growing against, do we have a large share in it? And based on that grid, all of the products that we have, all of the products we're trying to sell, fall into one of 4 categories. The best of all, of course, is when you have a growth industry. More and more people are buying this particular product, and you have a large share of that industry. Those products are called stars. You're riding the wave. It's growing, and you've got the market share. Then there are markets that are not really growing. They're pretty stable, they're pretty static. Same number of goods are sold every year, but you've got the lion's share. You have a large share of that product in your company. And those are called cash cows because people just regularly buy them year after year. It's not a growing industry, but it's not a dying industry, and they come to you to get that particular good. And that becomes a solid foundation for a certain amount of profit and revenue to your company. Then you have the worst of all situations, and that would be it's a low growth industry, you don't see any growth in it, and you have a very small market share. And those I'm sorry to have to say this to the dog lovers out there, myself included, the Boston Marketing Group called these dogs, Boston Consulting Group. Those are basically products that if you're going to need to jettison something, that's what you jettison. That's what you get rid of because it's not growing and you don't have a large share in the market anyway. And if you're spending a lot of time and effort and production facility expenses making something that is just not contributing that much to your company, it's probably costing you more than it's bringing in. The 4th category would be a growth industry. More and more people are buying it, but your company has a small market share of the total sales. So there's great opportunity here. There's a lot of growth, but for some reason, your company hasn't snagged it, hasn't really gotten the public's imagination captured. Why? This is the question mark. All right. So we've gone from stars to cash cows to dogs. The question mark. What is it about this? What are we doing wrong? How have we not penetrated the market with our good? And when doing a strategic planning process, this is a very, very specific area you want to focus on. Where is the industry taking off and we're missing the boat? Now, in deciding to enter a market, and deciding to take some action that's going to increase sales, revenue, and profit for your company, another grid system, another perspective to use, let's say, is the competitive growth analysis. And in the competitive growth analysis, you're measuring your current versus new markets and current versus new products, and how you can make combination of these. And I'll give you very specific examples because I know these are very, they could be very ethereal terms. So let's, in honor of the new occupants of the White House, and I don't mean President and Dr. Biden, I mean Champ and Major, Major being the first shelter dog to actually live in the White House. Let's pretend we're a company that makes 40-pound bags of really good dog food. Some type of dry dog food comes in 40-pound sacks, all right? And we're looking to expand sales and revenue. Using the competitive growth analysis, there's 4 different ways we could go with this. The first is what we call market penetration. And that means we use our current product, our 40-pound bags of dog food, in our current markets and increase it. So perhaps we generally compete in retail stores or supermarkets with our bags of dog food. What this approach says, market penetration, is we're going to keep doing what we do well, but we're going to come up with some strategy to increase sales among dog owners in supermarkets with the product that we've already got. And maybe that will involve an additional promotion campaign or some technique to make people realize that, hey, we got a really good product here. That's market penetration. Then there is market development, which is different than market penetration. Market development says we've got a good product. Let's use our current product, but let's try and market it to new groups of people that we haven't reached before. So it could be as simple as saying, well, let's move out of New England and start marketing in New York. That would be a new market for us if we were only located in New England. Or it might be, let's start marketing our dog food to veterinarians and humane societies and nonprofit organizations that work with shelter dogs. That would be market development, because we're using our existing product, but we're increasing the market. We're increasing our target audience for that product. A third approach is what we call product development. In product development, we say we have a current market. It's the people who go to the retail stores and pick up dog food for their dogs, and they know us and they like us. Let's sell them a new product. Since we have a reputation as being a good, healthy dog food and people trust us, maybe we should also be selling tick and flea shampoo, or leashes, or doggy toys, or doggy treats. Something else that our current market would be interested in purchasing. But it's a new product. We're going to develop a new product to do it. That's product development. The fourth approach is called diversification. And that means we come up with a new product and we target a new market. So perhaps based on our good reputation as being great for pets and a trustworthy name, now we're going to start developing cat food. That's going to be our diversification. We're moving away from just dog food, now we're moving into cat food. It's a different market because dog owners and cat owners, while they might be the same people, there's an overlap, There's also a lot of cat owners who just own cats. So we're entering a new market with a new product. So those are your 4 possibilities for expansion. Market penetration, do more with what you've got and what you're making. Market development, take what you've got and expand it to a broader base of consumers. Product development, make a new product for your current customers. Or diversification, new product and new markets, new customers, new people. Now, in doing this, one of the considerations that you have to work through is whether you want to be what's called a first mover or a late mover. And let me explain this a little bit. A first mover says you're going to produce something that no one else has produced yet. This is a brand new product. And there are advantages and disadvantages to being a first mover. If you're the first mover in a market, you have the advantage of establishing in the consumer's mind the fact that your company, makes this brand new, neat product. But in order to do that, you're going to have to spend an awful lot of capital in creating interest and knowledge about what that product is. You'll also make mistakes along the way, but you're bearing the burden of that in an effort to be the first mover and seize the market share. If you're a late mover, what that basically means is you're going to wait for someone else to make that product first. Let them make the mistakes. Let them spend all that money getting the public to understand what the product is and how it brings value to them and why they should buy it. And then you jump in with your competitive product. Now, sometimes that works really well. Someone else has laid out all the expense and now you ride their coattails. Other times, the first company has so established in the public's mind the fact that their brand is the one to buy that you can't get through that. You can't get past that. And that's a strategy that you'll simply have to work out when you're developing a new product. Now, let's say we're doing a new product, and we'll go back to our cat food. We're going to do bags of cat food in the retail markets because we have such a good reputation for pet food, at least for dog food. That's when we begin to bring in those 4 P's that I spoke about in the last lesson. We have to think about price, product, including the size of the bags, right? The promotion, and how we distribute it, the place. Now, it's very easy for marketing people and for marketing teams to sit around and hash all this out, come up with some great ideas. Yeah, we ought to have this picture on the cat food bag, and you know what? The cat food bag should be 10 pounds instead of 40 pounds because cats don't eat as much as dogs, and people don't want a big bag of cat food sitting around getting stale. And you work all this out, and what the product is going to be, and the price point, and all that stuff. But as a marketing team, you can't do this alone. And talking about it and coming up with great ideas is worthless if you can't actually execute that plan. And that means that the marketing team is going to need to bring in people from a production team or a manufacturing team. It's great that you came up with an idea to make 20-pound bags or 10-pound bags instead of 40-pound bags. Your production people might not have a machine that can actually handle a smaller bag. They may have to order new machinery. And the new machinery they order may have to be in a certain place on the factory floor, which is going to require them to move the existing machinery somewhere else. You're also going to need to bring in the finance people, because someone's going to have to pay for that new machinery. Someone's going to have to pay for the new raw materials. Someone's going to have to pay for the new design on your new cat food bag. And then once you've got the finance people on board, you need someone from HR. because it doesn't mean that just because you have the right personnel now to carry out your dog food operation, that you're going to have enough or the right kinds of employees to handle your next product. So in a strategic planning process, one of the things that you need to do is actually identify all these moving parts and bring people in from every department to be part of this process. Very often we will use what's called a matrix style, meaning you bring one person in production, one person in from HR, one person in from finance, one person in from who knows, what other departments your company may have, so that everyone is on board at the same time and they can add information, things you might not even have thought about this new product that you're thinking of developing for the company. Finally, and if you've taken my management course or another management course, you know a big fan of what's called a Gantt chart. A Gantt chart, picture a big wall calendar that runs the length of the wall. And on it, it's every single task that has to be done. From the manufacturer of small 10-pound bags. Well, before you got that, someone's got to design what goes on the bags. Before you design that, the marketing people have to have a sense of what's the brand image that we're trying to promote, what's the information that we want to promote on the bags themselves, how are we conveying value with that. And all of these have got to be done in order, excuse me, in particular steps. You get it all out on a wall so that if something can be done while something else is being done, great, you're being efficient. If a holdup in supply lines, if a holdup in something getting delivered to your company is going to stop the whole process, you want to know quickly so you can pivot and readjust deadlines and due dates. So that's an overview of the strategic planning process. It's big, it's complicated. The bigger the company is, the more people are going to be involved, but it can be exciting, it can be fun, it can be infuriating when someone says, no, you can't do that. But it's how new products get developed, and delivered to the market. And it's something that Business in America does every day. So thank you for taking this short tour with me, and I hope between this video, the text readings, the case study we're looking at, that this all begins to make a little more sense. Tom Simmons signing off.